In this video, I'm going to be breaking down how my agency closed 771 high-ticket clients, scaled from zero to $2 million a year in just 10 months, and how you watching can pull off exactly what I did in half the time, 90% automated, and with 4 times the profit margins. I'm super excited for the video. Let's dive into my screen. If you're reading this right now, I can honestly say that I'm jealous of you. Because when I scaled my agency LeadJolt from zero to $2 million a year in just 10 months, I had to become ridiculously good at 2 things. And even just to say 2 things is kind of a ridiculous oversimplification because I had to get good at getting clients, learning how to engineer offers, build acquisition systems, getting on sales calls and closing, and also had to make sure we were good at getting results. Like the fulfillment, making sure that the clients we bring in are happy and that their system is working. We had to manage team and all the operations that came with that. And I think this photo right here really sums it up well. When we launched LeadJolt, in 10 months, we had scaled past $2 million a year. And this does not look like the face of someone who just built a $2 million a year business in 10 months. I look sad, I look fat, I look depressed. Because honestly, it was brutal. We're talking about 80-hour work weeks, hiring and training 20 plus people, and honestly just managing chaos. But now you can achieve the same results I did in less time, with less money, and with less effort because AI just changed everything about running a successful, low-stress agency. So no matter if you're an aspiring AI agency owner or you currently run an agency, all you have to do to win in 2026 is get good at one thing. And in this training, I'm gonna outline exactly what that one thing is and how you can master it. But here's the catch. This is going to be a long, dense training. The document that I'm referencing here today is 80 pages long and over 12,000 words. It's like a short book. But I'm not gonna apologize for that, because the information I'm about to show you is literally more valuable than programs that people pay thousands of dollars for. So today you're not gonna see any fancy editing. You're not gonna see flashy graphics that pop across the screen. But what you're going to get is pure tactical value that will actually help you make money. So if you can't sit down and watch an hour or 90-minute video that could help you build a $100,000 a month agency, then you're cooked. There's no hope for you, not from me, not from anyone on the internet. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but a trait of people that have success in business is being able to sit down, lock in, and focus. And if you can't do that, especially when it comes to watching a video that's going to give you all the tools in order to be able to succeed, then look, no amount of information is actually going to help you. So with that said, if you need to put the video on 2x speed, you can. I already talk kind of fast, but if you can and you can understand me and I don't sound like the Tasmanian devil, put the video on 2x speed, get a water, get a coffee, take some breaks, whatever you got to do. But you're going to want to watch or read this training till the end, because here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn about the agency model revival, which is how AI removed the fulfillment bottleneck that stopped every successful agency owner who was doing $100,000 to $400,000 a month. And the only thing you need to focus on to scale a profitable agency today. You're going to learn about assembly line fulfillment, which is the McDonald's secret to processing thousands of orders daily without chaos while still maintaining really high profit margins, and how AI actually makes this fulfillment model possible for agencies today. You're going to learn what it means to become a chief scale officer and why you need to become elite at one thing rather than just becoming a general AI expert, and how you can actually manage client acquisition. You're going to learn about acquisition in the AI era and how AI has actually made client acquisition 10 times harder, not easier. You're going to learn about the Livvy Dunn principle, which I'm very excited to dive into, and what offers actually win when prospects get 1,000 plus personalized pitches per day. You're going to learn about the SaaS secret, which is systems leverage. It's the most lucrative, strongest form of leverage that software billionaires have been using to print billions of dollars that, quite frankly, they've been gatekeeping from the rest of us because it was impossible for agencies to access until now. And you're going to learn how you can access it so you can finally run at 70 to 80% profit margins. You're going to learn about the AI client engine, which is the exact 4-part system that I personally built to close 771 clients and scale to $2 million a year in just 10 months. But it's now supercharged and revamped with AI to book 30 plus calls per week automatically, handle 90% of the fulfillment for your clients, so you can consistently hit $30,000 to $100,000 a month in profit in 2026 without hiring armies of people. And I'll be honest with you, I hate fluff. So my promise to you is if you read or watch this document till the end, you'll know exactly how to finally escape the agency grind and how you can use AI to scale 10 times faster to build a $30,000 per month profit plus agency heading into 2026. So let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, you're probably wondering, who the hell are you and why should I care? Well, nice to meet you. I'm John Daines. In 2018, I was repairing phones for $10 an hour. And today I've built and scaled multiple 7-figure businesses. With my first business, LeadJolt, I closed over 771 clients personally and went from $0 to $2 million a year in just 10 months. I personally sustained a 40% close rate. I managed a team of closers averaging 25%. which is twice the industry standard in the agency space. And again, we scaled to $2 million a year. So that's very intentional language. I don't say that I hit 100K a month, because there's many people in the space that had one 100K month, took the screenshot of their Stripe dashboard, and then moved on to selling programs. So I'm not just one of these gurus who did it 1 month and then dipped. And here's actually a screenshot of my tax return for 2022. In 2023, Iman Gaji personally recruited me to train the next generation of agency owners at Educate. And since then, I've partnered and trained dozens of agency owners through agency clients. Many are now doing 30 to 100K a month plus. You can see the wins on my highlights on Instagram. Today, I'm showing you the same client getting Engine all those guys used to scale with 80+% profit margins, leveraging AI to handle almost all of the delivery. But before that, you have to understand how AI really does change how you need to think about scale if you want to build a wildly profitable agency. So how did I build an agency? I really did it the old way, because when I discovered the agency model, I literally had to learn everything from scratch, and it cost so much to scale, not just in money, but also in time. I needed 20+ people to handle my fulfillment. We needed copywriters, designers, media buyers, VAs, setters, closers, client success managers, employees in our call center. It was constant hiring, firing, and training. It was very heavy payroll, very high stress. I was working 80 hours a week, and my team was also working 80 hours a week, just managing the whole machine. And I literally spent over $1 million of my own money on ads, coaching, and masterminds just to try to figure the business model out. But every new client we brought on really meant more complexity, more overhead, and more operational stress. But here's the thing, when I ran my agency, I actually had the best problem in the world. We were literally too good at getting clients. And I'm not saying this to brag, but it's eventually what killed my agency. And it's what's gonna kill yours too if you scale the traditional way. So let me explain. When I was running LeadJolt, we would close 5 deals a day at times. 10K days became regular. Even when we tried to slow it down, and we did try, we'd still get loads of clients coming in. I used to tell my business partner, Adam, all the time, dude, if we can just keep churn below 20% yearly, we'll sell our business for over $50 million. And I actually had a mentor who sold his agency for over $50 million. And when he would look at our numbers, he would agree. And because of that, I would literally put my life down on that being the truth. We had built up so much demand that it literally became impossible to keep up with. And this is not in the document, but just to tell a personal story, in 2021, we brought on a media buyer, and he told Adam, my COO and my business partner, hey, we have so many clients, I can't actually keep up with everyone's names. And that's the person running my whole fulfillment. So we'd created a massive problem, and that's when I realized, hey, this is starting to get out of hand. Because every month, we'd say hello to 20 or 30 new clients while simultaneously saying goodbye to about 10 to 15 others. So in 2022, we decided to try something drastic. We raised our prices from $14.97 a month to $24.97 a month, essentially doubling our prices to try to fix the problem. The goal was really simple: get fewer clients, make more money per client, and improve our margins. But guess what happened? We actually closed the same amount of clients. The price increase didn't slow us down at all. And we still had the same fulfillment problem. We just couldn't keep up. And if you don't believe me, look at my highlights on Instagram for many years of proof from 2020 all the way to 2023. Before I get into the real fire this problem ignited, there was some positives because I learned a lot of things about acquiring clients. It was really our strong suit. I mastered offer engineering, building packages that prospects just couldn't say no to. I built acquisition systems that booked 100+ sales calls every single week on autopilot. And I created a bulletproof 9-step close framework that allowed me to convert at 40% on calls while my team averaged 25%. And we'll get more into that later. And that's really how I closed 771 clients and hit $2 million a year in just 10 months. I became a master at consistent client acquisition, and it was really the only reason that my agency grew at the speed that it did. But every problem in business creates a new problem, and being too good at getting clients created the worst problem possible, which is the fulfillment nightmare. When we first started scaling, we ignited the fires of fulfillment at volume. Again, there were months where we would close 40 new clients and 20 of them would churn the next month because we simply couldn't deliver at the quality that we promised. So what do? We panic hired 5 new people in the call center in 1 month. Then we had to train them, manage them, coach them. And of course, only a couple people actually perform. That's just the truth of hiring at scale. Meanwhile, our expenses were exploding. We became less profitable, not more, the bigger we got. And every new hire meant more of my time and my team's time went into managing people instead of actually growing the business. But here's the thing. For some business models, like software as a service, this is totally fine because in SaaS, you're building for enterprise value, not today's profit. Companies like OpenAI, Stripe, and Rippling, they burn insane amounts of cash because they're chasing a $1 billion valuation. They're not trying to maximize their margin this month. Slack is a perfect example of this as well. They were unprofitable for years, but they still got bought out by Salesforce for $27.7 billion. Why? Well, because Salesforce saw the enterprise value. They saw the system, they saw the leverage. The VCs who funded Slack didn't care about quarterly profits. They cared about building something that's worth billions of dollars. But we weren't playing that game. I was 100% bootstrapped. Every dollar that I invested in my business or had to pay out was my dollar, profit coming directly out of my own pockets. Every person that I hired, every dollar that I spent on ads was essentially money that I was taking away from myself to invest in other businesses, to go on vacations, to do things in life that I actually enjoy. And here's what most people don't know. I could have gone the investor route. We had legitimate VC interest, real firms, real capital, real opportunities, like this one from General Atlantic, a $40 billion global growth equity firm that's made investments in companies like Airbnb, Opendoor, Klarna, and other multi-billion dollar empires. This is actually the cold email that they sent me. And look, when someone at that level reaches out to you completely cold, it means you're building something real. But we didn't want to hand over our company to investors like so many founders end up doing, because I really resonate with what Russell Brunson of ClickFunnels says. When you take VC money, you're cheating. And he's right. Once you take investor money, you're no longer the owner. You're an employee with golden handcuffs. But honestly, investor money wouldn't have fixed the real problem anyway, because the issue wasn't demand. So this is not in the document, but when you raise investor money, you normally spend that money on marketing and acquisition and driving demand. But we didn't have a problem with that. We were doing amazing with that. It was the biggest skill set of our business. Our problem wasn't sales, wasn't the market, it was fulfillment. A broken fulfillment model is still broken no matter how much money you throw at it. And the deeper I looked, the more that I realized this wasn't a John problem. This wasn't a Lee Joel problem. It was an industry-wide pattern. Every agency that crossed a certain threshold hit the exact same wall. More clients equals more complexity, equals more chaos, equals more churn, equals more stress, equals terrible margins, and zero scalability. And that's the truth that no one really wants to admit publicly. So where did the old model actually hit the ceiling? Well, you probably heard someone like Iman say, you should only try to scale your agency to 100K a month, which is exactly what he and a lot of other big names in the agency space did. There are clips of him saying, when you get to 100K a month, you just pretty much stop running your agency or just let it run on autopilot, which kind of never works as planned. It wasn't defeatist advice, it was him being honest. Because past 100K a month, the traditional agency model kind of breaks. And it's not that it isn't profitable anymore, it's that the juice is no longer worth the squeeze, because you're doing twice the work with twice the spend, and you're not getting twice the amount of profit. The math stops working, and the fulfillment bottleneck really becomes impossible to solve. And I'll be honest with you, as smart as Iman is, when I first heard him say this, I kind of just thought it was another limiting belief, just some excuse that people make, frankly. I was like, no, I'm built different. I don't have these limiting beliefs. I can do this, until I actually scaled and got to that point, and then I was faced with the math. It wasn't a limiting belief. It was just insane economics. It wasn't a mindset problem. It was a math problem. So let's say, for a hypothetical example, me and you watching this video start an agency from scratch. We're super excited to do it. We charge $2,000 per month per client. Our CAC, which is customer acquisition cost, is $1,000, meaning we spend $1,000 to get one new client through ads. We have an industry average 15% monthly churn, meaning 15% of our clients leave every single month, no matter what we do. And we're spending $10,000 per month on ads. At $1,000 CAC, that 10K ad spend gets us 10 new clients every single month. Sounds great, right? But this is where the math kind of gets fucked. You start the stall out when the number of clients you're getting each month equals the number of clients you're losing due to churn. Meaning you start the stall when you get 10 new clients, but you lose 10 clients in the same month. With these numbers, your real ceiling is only 67 clients. That's around $133,000 per month in revenue, and that's actually your ceiling. And I'm gonna break down why. Because when you have 67 clients and you're churning 15% of them monthly, you lose about 10 clients every single month automatically, which means you're now spending $10,000 a month on ads just to replace the clients who left, not to grow or scale, but just to stay alive. And here's how the math starts to play out. Month 6, you have 42 clients, meaning you're churning about 6 clients per month. You close 10 new clients from your 10K ad spend, which means your net growth is only about 4 clients. So you're technically closing 10, but the reality is you're only adding 4 because 6 just walked out the door. In month 12, the stall out really starts to take place. You have 57 clients now, but you're losing 8.6, can't lose 0.6 clients. You're losing 9 clients a month basically, and you're closing 10 new ones. So your net growth, to really put it down to the decimal, is down to 1.4 new clients per month. You're already hitting the ceiling and you can feel the walls closing in, even though on paper, you look like you have a monster agency with 57 clients getting 10 new ones a month. It still looks like you're growing. In month 18, about a year and a half in, you've kind of hit that dead zone. You have 63 clients. You're churning nearly 10 clients a month, 9.5 to be precise. You close 10 new ones. Your net growth is half a client per month. You've effectively stopped growing and you've entered what I call the revolving door agency stage. Here's the thing that really kills you. This is where the math really starts to take advantage of your agency. That $10,000 a month that you're spending on ads, that's just the ad spend. That's just your acquisition cost. This doesn't include your client success managers, your media buyers, your VAs, your software expenses, and hey, your income that you're gonna pay yourself. That's what we're doing this whole thing for, right? To enrich ourselves and to make ourselves wealthy. We're talking about massive amounts of money being spent before we even touch our actual operating expenses, which grow as you get more clients. You're spending $10,000 a month in ads just to stay at the same level, but because you have more clients now, you have all these other operating expenses piling up. And here's the thing that makes the math even worse. You're likely paying a closer 10% commission on every single one of those deals. Think about how much more that destroys the economics. You're already treading water, and now you're giving away 10% on every new client just to stay in the same place. And this is what I mean when I say it's the revolving door agency stage. You close one client, one leaves. You're just constantly replacing clients, basically restarting your agency every few months. And this is why nobody's really running their agencies anymore using the old model. There was no escaping this because it's really just a bad math problem. Now, if you're smart, you might say, well, just lower your CAC, make your ads better, acquire clients for cheaper. Cool. So how exactly are we gonna do that? We're gonna need a better, more edgier offer. That's what makes ads work, is good offers, right? What's that better offer actually gonna do? It's probably gonna attract worse clients because now you have to get more edgy with your offer. You have to start putting crazier promises out there. And every time you overpromise, you're gonna end up under-delivering, which makes your churn even worse. Okay, so if we can't solve it through CAC, well, just have better retention, fix your churn. Look, I don't know anyone who's ever been below 10% monthly churn in the agency model. Not one person. And all of the agency guys, myself included, are pretty fucking smart. And I say that humbly. Nevertheless, I still invested heavily into fixing it. In 2021, I spent $30,000 on a client success program. This guy had a whole mastermind about how to make your clients love you and how to get them better results. It was 30 grand. I hired expensive client success managers. I basically had a guy shut down his agency. He was doing $20,000 a month at the time. And I hired him to come work with me full time just to focus on my fulfillment. And of course, I paid him super well. I threw more shit at the wall than literally anyone that I know. And our churn barely changed. Even after all those changes, it pretty much just stayed the same. The best we ever got to was like 10% per month because it's not a skill issue, it's a model issue. And this is coming from the guy who actually beat those example numbers we went over. My agency did much better than this. We charge more than $2,000 per month. Our CAC was significantly lower than $1,000. We were on a $2,500 a month retainer, spending $700 to acquire a client. We did 4-to-1 return on ad spend on our cash. Our churn was 10 to 12% monthly, which is lower than the 15% industry standard. My numbers were in the top 1% of most people's agency numbers, and we still didn't hit those moonshot millions of dollars a month because the same problem just gets accentuated. We average more than $133,000 a month, but even beating all those benchmarks, the ceiling was still waiting for me. This is why my old agency could do $2 million per year, but still feel like hell. And this is why Iman told everyone to cap their agencies at $100,000 a month, because it's a constant battle of generating demand, keeping up with the demand, and then repeating the process, which essentially means you acquire clients, you acquire a team to fulfill, you lose the clients, you trim the team, and then you repeat the process. It's like a snake shedding its skin over and over and over again. The model is fundamentally broken for any type of actual scale. One of my really close agency friends who was doing $400K per month even completely shut down his agency because of the same problem. He didn't sell it. He didn't put it on autopilot. He shut it down. And he's actually one of the best sales and marketing guys I know. He got to $400K a month because he's really good at client acquisition. But he couldn't stay there because it's nearly impossible to survive at that level when you're drowning in the traditional fulfillment model. In 2021, there was a very popular influencer in the agency space, I'm not gonna name him by name, who was doing bigger numbers than anyone who I'd heard of at the time. Adam, my business partner, and I bought his most expensive coaching package and got on one-on-one calls with him. The first thing I asked him was, hey, how do you handle churn? And I was shocked when I learned that his monthly churn was actually worse than ours, and at the time I thought ours was really bad. He told us that on $2 million a month top line, he was profiting 7%. He had hundreds of staff and millions of dollars in overhead. They would bring in 100 new clients each month, and about 50 would simultaneously leave. Really think about that for a second. $2 million in revenue every single month. and he's taking home $140K. He's managing 200 people to make sure the business runs. He's working 80 hours a week himself, all just one bad month away from being underwater on payroll, which is a whole different messy problem. And by the way, this is why I'm not naming him by name, his business is no longer running either. So here's what the unit economics looked like in the traditional agency model. On $50K per month in revenue, you had 5 to 7 team members spending $15 to $25K a month. Your profit margins are around 40 to 50%, which translates to $20,000 to $25,000 in take-home income for you as the founder. On $100,000 a month revenue, your team size is 10 to 15 employees. Your payroll is 30 to 45K a month, meaning your profit margin is around the 25 to 35% mark, translating to $25,000 to $35,000 in take-home income. So you're basically doubling your revenue, but you're not even close to doubling your take-home. At $200K a month, you have 20 to 30 team members. Your payroll is 50 to 70K a month. Your profit margins shrink down to the 15 to 20% mark, which translates to 30 to 40K a month. So you can see you can quadruple your agency and you haven't even come close to quadrupling your take-home income. And at $400K a month, plus you have 40 to 50 team members, you have 100 to 150K in payroll, only 10% margins, and you're only taking home around $40,000 a month. So you can see as your revenue scales, your take-home income does not scale. And you really have to ask yourself, are you trying to have a massive revenue business, or are you trying to take home and profit the most amount of money possible? Because the fact is, big alone doesn't win. And in the agency space, it really means losing. The only thing that does win is smart economics. And in the old model, the math of staying small and lean was actually the one that made sense to turn actual profit. But the good news is AI just changed the economics, because the agency model has been revived. For years, the agency model, again, it faced a fatal flaw that everyone above 100K a month dealt with, but nobody could really fix. The bottleneck stems from a concept called the linear scaling law, which states, as your revenue increases, your team size increases and your margins decrease. When you get 10 clients, you need 2 to 3 people. When you get 50 clients, you need 10 to 15 people. When you get 100 clients, you need 20 to 30 people. And there was really no way around it and no way to solve it with the tools that we had up until now. The AI-powered agency model is the new way, because AI broke the linear scaling law. An AI-powered agency doing 200K per month looks completely different to the traditional model. All you need now is a 3 to 5 person team maximum, and your total costs have dramatically decreased because AI handles the fulfillment that used to require 12 plus people. The result is a fattened 70 to 80% profit margins, which was impossible before. So if you're still doing 200K a month in revenue, you're now taking home $140,000 to $160,000 per month, working 20 to 30 hours per week, and almost all of your time on the business is spent on the high leverage, fun activities like sales and strategy. Every new client you close actually means mostly profit because there's no heavy human labor that's needed to deliver. The fulfillment bottleneck is completely eliminated. And now you can scale to 200K plus per month with the same simplicity you used to scale to 20K per month with, because the profit margins don't shrink and the team size stays flat. Okay, cool. But how do you actually use AI to accomplish what used to take teams of 10 plus employees to deliver realistically? And the way is assembly line fulfillment, which is the McDonald's model. Well, first off, I'll be very clear about one thing. AI doesn't actually make client acquisition any easier. You still need to master that part, and we'll talk more on that later. AI simply removes the fulfillment ceiling that stopped everyone from scaling, myself included, and it finally allows for you to build a real productized assembly line fulfillment process. Let me explain this in a different way and use McDonald's as an example. McDonald's serves millions of customers across the world every single day. They can operate at that scale because they've built a productized fulfillment process that moves orders through the same stations every single time. When you walk up to the counter and order a Big Mac with no pickles and extra cheese, your order enters the system. From that point forward, there's a predictable flow that happens behind the counter. Your order moves through the same process as everyone else's, but the system is designed to handle your specific customizations at each station without slowing anything down. The customization doesn't create chaos because it's literally built into the workflow. That's how they can process thousands of orders a day without everything falling apart. Traditional agencies were never able to operate like this because when a client signed up, there was no standardized fulfillment process. You'd have a kickoff call Then the copywriter would start working on ad copy the next week. The designer would create some mock-ups, but they're waiting on feedback from the copywriter. The media buyer needs the assets and the copy before they can launch everything. Everyone's working in circles, so nothing flows from one stage to the next automatically. Slack messages are flying everywhere. Files are getting lost. Revisions are happening out of order. The client's asking for updates because nobody knows where their work's at in the process. Every client felt like a custom project being built from scratch. There was no assembly line. There was no real automated system, just chaos that somehow eventually produced a result. You couldn't scale this because there was nothing to scale. You just hire more people and create more chaos. But AI just made it possible to build a real working automated assembly line for agency fulfillment. Fast food giants like McDonald's run around 20 to 30% profit margins, while high-end restaurants typically sit closer to 5 to 10%. McDonald's uses a super simple productized model where you order, they put your food in a bag and you leave. But a typical high-end restaurant, they bring you drinks, a wine menu, bread, an appetizer, your meal, dessert, then they clean the table off. All this work to give you a boutique experience. So it's no wonder restaurants are notoriously the worst, hardest, most unprofitable businesses to run. There's a reason you never see venture capitalists who only invest into restaurants. The whole business model is reliant on managing teams of chefs, servers, hosts, bussers, dishwashers, all serving hundreds of people every single day. It's such an unprofitable model that servers are literally forced to make their living through tips. Not because restaurant owners are selfish or greedy, but because they literally can't afford to pay their employees more. The margins don't exist at this boutique level. This is the exact model traditional agencies run on, managing teams of people doing custom work for dozens or even hundreds of clients. So who has a better fulfillment model? Well, of course, McDonald's does. And yeah, the restaurant charges more, but would you rather charge more with terrible margins and more stress, or charge a little less with way higher profit margins and way less stress? And I would even argue the restaurant has to charge more, otherwise they'll go out of business. That's kind of the way you have to think about it. Traditional agencies ran the high-end restaurant model. Very boutique, very custom, way more staff, lower margins. But now with AI, you can run the McDonald's model, which is low stress, super easy, and it's a productized fulfillment working through an assembly line. What used to take 30 to 40 hours of chaotic coordination across multiple people now takes 2 to 8 hours moving through a standardized process. The client gets the same level of customization they always got, but now it flows through an assembly line instead of being built from chaos. And one operator manages the entire system. The AI is doing the work. The operator is just quality control, making sure the assembly line runs smoothly and the output meets the standards of the clients. And because it's an actual assembly line, you can now scale infinitely. Client 1 enters the system with their custom inputs, and their work flows through the process and gets delivered. Client 50 enters the system with different inputs and goes through the same process. No additional people required. The assembly line doesn't slow down, the quality doesn't drop, and the operator isn't overwhelmed because they're not physically doing all the work. Before this, you needed more people to handle more clients. And now you just need more AI processing time, which costs almost nothing and scales infinitely. And this is what I mean by assembly line fulfillment, a standardized process that can handle massive volume with customization built in and almost zero human labor per order or per client. You're no longer capped by how many people you can hire to coordinate custom work. You're only capped by how many clients you can close. And that's exactly why there's only one thing you need to master to succeed with this model in 2026. The only thing that matters now is being a chief scale officer. Most agency owners think they need to become AI experts to stay relevant to survive in 2026. But look, that couldn't be further from the truth. You need to double down on becoming a chief scale officer in your business. You need to become a beast at marketing and sales. You need to focus 80% of your energy on selling and acquiring clients, not on figuring out how to prompt ChatGPT better. Because here's the thing, the actual AI systems to fulfill are already damn near a commodity. And this is also why just selling AI automation services or voice agents will never work if you want to have predictable revenue, because Indians on Fiverr are offering that for $50, sometimes even less. ChatGPT does copywriting, Midjourney does design, Clay does prospecting, Instantly does outreach. The whole stack costs you $300 to $500 per month in total. But you know what's not a commodity? You know what AI can't do for you? It can't replace your ability to actually book appointments and close clients month over month. It can't replace your ability to engineer one-of-one offers that are so damn good that prospects feel stupid saying no. It can't replace your ability to build acquisition systems that book 30 plus calls per week on autopilot, or your ability to get on the phone and close deals at 40% rates when the industry average is 10 to 15%. There's a skill gap that's going to separate winners from losers in 2026, and that's the only skill that matters now. And look, I was halfway there in 2023. I understood that I needed to be a chief scale officer. Even though I knew I had to keep feeding the business clients consistently, it backfired because I was basically putting gallons of water into a leaky bucket. 10 clients per week into the leaky bucket of fulfillment. The bucket had holes. It had big ones. The fulfillment was broken. The model didn't scale. And no amount of water, new clients, was going to fix the fundamental problem underneath it all. The bucket leaked faster than I could fill it. But if you're reading this right now, you have an opportunity that I didn't have back then. You can do exactly what I did. Focus 80% of your energy on being a world-class chief scale officer, but actually get 10 times the results because AI has plugged the holes in that leaky bucket. Now, when you pour water into the bucket, it actually stays there. It compounds, and you can finally build the kind of agency that does 50K, 100K, 200K plus per month without it bursting at the seams. And the best part, nobody realizes, is that when you get good at acquisition, skilled people want to work with you. So one of my favorite movies is The Social Network. If you remember the movie, Eduardo Saverin gives Mark Zuckerberg the money to start Facebook. You think he would just give money to some random dude on the street? No. He knew Mark Zuckerberg was a genius who was on the rise. He knew Mark had the skills to build $1 billion empire, so he gave Mark the money. This was the best decision Eduardo ever made. He's on the Forbes list today. He's a billionaire. It's the same thing with talented operators. When you master demand, you're gonna find operators who will scale with you, plug holes with you, and actually let you focus on growth. But you can't just be some random guy with no proof or track record saying, come be my operator to a skilled operator. They must trust that you can feed the business clients. And that's why inside of AC, we place you with killer operators when you're ready to scale. But that operator needs to trust your ability to get clients because nobody joins a sinking ship. But when you're booking 30 plus sales calls per week and you're closing at 40%, operators line up to join you because they know your business is growing and that they're going to get paid. The core message here is that if you master demand, you're going to unlock everything else. AI removes the fulfillment bottleneck so you can focus all of your energy on the one skill that matters, which is client acquisition. But here's what most people get completely backwards. AI has actually made client acquisition harder, and this is why only elite offer engineers are going to win in 2026. There's a popular belief floating around, and it's that AI is going to make client acquisition easier. It sounds comforting, but honestly, it's wrong. AI made outreach easier and client acquisition brutally harder. Because to scale in 2026, you need to understand the real shift, which is the barrier to reach. 5 years ago, sending 1,000 cold emails required real effort. And I know this because I did it. You had to build lists manually, you had to write the emails, you had to send them, you had to deal with deliverability. There were only a handful of softwares actually out there to generate data, and a lot of them were extremely complicated to use. Effort filters people. Friction creates separation. Now, Clay scrapes thousands of leads in minutes. ChatGPT writes personalized emails instantly sends them out automatically. And your cost, again, is only around $300 a month. When you remove effort, you don't create opportunity, you create competition. Prospects used to get 10 pitches a week. Now they have 100 plus a day coming across email, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and SMS. Reach has become free, which means reach is no longer an advantage. Everyone can reach everyone, but only a few get chosen. AI has actually made conversion the new bottleneck because AI solved the easy part of acquisition, which is volume, but it didn't solve the real part, which is getting attention, earning trust, creating urgency, building conviction, and actually closing deals. Prospects are drowning in outreach. Their bullshit filter is maxed out. They assume most agencies overpromise and underdeliver because, again, most do. The barrier to reach collapsed, so the barrier to trust skyrocketed. Acquisition is no longer about finding prospects. It's about standing out in a world where everyone can find them. And this is what created the Livvy Dunn principle. Let me put this in a frame that every man watching this video understands. If you're watching this, you know who this woman is right here, Livvy Dunn. Before the internet, her dating pool was limited. A successful guy in her hometown who maybe had a good career and a little bit of money actually had a shot. The competition was local. Then the internet happened. Livvy isn't choosing between a few local guys anymore. Her options are now the top 0.1% of men on the planet. Elite athletes, multimillionaires, high status creators, guys with global visibility. More access leads to more options, leads to more competition, which means the best offer wins. And here's the real lesson. She didn't just pick the best guy, she picked the guy with the strongest offer, which is Paul Skeens. His offer includes fame, fortune, status, and the biggest rookie signing bonus in MLB history, which was $9.2 million. That's the offer that an average guy just can't compete with. AI has done the exact same thing in your market. Prospects used to receive a handful of agency pitches. Now they receive thousands, all using the same tools, the same scripts, the same templates. Your prospects have effectively become Livvy Dunn, drowning in options, being forced to choose from only the very top, which means your agency can't just be good. It can't just rely on volume. It can't just rely on AI. Your agency has to be the Paul Skeens of agencies, the one with the superior, undeniable offer. In a world of infinite outreach, the best offer wins. And just so we're clear about something, it's never been a game of I'll shoot 1,000,000 shots and something will stick. Volume has never solved bad fundamentals. To use the dating analogy again, if you walked up to 1,000,000 girls at a bar and you smelled terrible, or you had something in your teeth, or you acted weird and awkward, then volume isn't going to solve your problem. You're just burning through your entire dating pool faster. It's the same thing with agencies. If you have a bad offer and you're doing a high volume outreach, you're just burning through your total addressable market at light speed. You'll maybe send 10,000 emails, you'll maybe book 15 calls, and every single one of those prospects will be more skeptical, harder to close, and less likely to get results because your presentation and your offer was low quality from the jump. Some guys think, oh, now I can send volume with AI, so I'm going to crush it. I would say good luck, because you're just going to ruin your reputation and burn through your market faster. The thing people don't understand about the attention economy is that you're not even competing with other agencies anymore. You're competing with every single person that's trying to buy your prospect's attention across every platform that exists. Your prospect's getting hit up on email hundreds a day, DMs dozens a day, LinkedIn messages consistently, TikTok messages relentlessly, SMS if someone has their number, Facebook Messenger, Twitter DMs, YouTube comments. And it's not just agencies in their inbox anymore. It's coaches, consultants, influencers, course creators, random people pitching crypto, friends asking for favors, family sending memes, their actual clients needing support. Everyone is fighting for the same 3 seconds of your prospect's attention. So when you do finally get the attention, your offer better be so dialed in that they feel stupid saying no, and more importantly, that they see it as a priority to actually hear about your offer. Because a great offer practically sells itself. You don't even really need to be insanely good at sales if your offer is engineered correctly, because the prospect is basically closing themselves. You're just there to answer questions and process the payment. This is exactly why I stress offer engineering before you try to scale your acquisition. Because most agency owners have it backwards. They try to scale acquisition with a mediocre offer, and then they wonder why their close rate's 8% and their clients churn after 3 months, because they haven't fixed their offer first. Then you can actually scale without lighting money on fire. And look, human psychology hasn't changed. Technology evolves, tools evolve, platforms evolve, but the human brain hasn't updated for thousands of years. And when you study history, you start to see the same pattern driving every mass adoption phenomenon from Genesis in the Bible to today in 2026. Let me show you with 3 case studies. The first one is Adam and Eve, which is the first offer that was ever made. Ignore the theology for a moment and just look at the psychology. Adam and Eve, they lived in abundance. They weren't seeking a solution, yet they still took the offer. Why? Because it hit the fundamental structure of an irresistible offer. Satan in the garden made Adam and Eve a massive promise: become like God. The commitment was very small. Just take 1 bite of the apple. And the perceived risk was, well, what's the worst that can happen? This was the first recorded example of high reward, low cost, low perceived risk. And look, human wiring hasn't changed since the garden. And we see that through Proactive, the infomercials that printed billions of dollars. Proactive, it wasn't built on chemistry. It was built on offer engineering. Their empire was built on one simple formula: big promise, tiny commitment, total risk reversal. They promised clear skin. The commitment was just give it a try and see how it works. And the reversal was 60-day money back guarantee. And this is a screenshot from their infomercials back in 1999. They engineered the feeling of, I would be stupid not to try this. And that psychology built a multi-billion-dollar brand. Case study 3 is one that probably everyone has heard of: Stake.com, which is the best in the world at engineering dopamine in the modern society. Stake is the fastest growing online casino in the world. Not because they have better odds, not because they have better games, but because they weaponize human wiring. Number 1, there's a tiny perceived risk. You just make a small deposit and those small bets feel really harmless. There's massive perceived upside. You win, you could produce 10 to 1,000x returns. There's instant dopamine. Humans love immediacy. Stake didn't reinvent gambling. They adapted ancient psychological triggers to a modern platform, and they tied this psychology directly into their games, especially their most viral game, which is mines. You've seen the clips everywhere. You click a box, you avoid the mine, you double your money. One tiny action, just a click. Huge perceived upside and instant payoff. It's the same high reward, low risk, low effort, fast dopamine loop humans have been always wired for, just wrapped up into a modern interface. And here's the key insight: Mines isn't fundamentally different than any other casino game. It feels safer though. It feels easier. It feels more winnable than something like blackjack or poker. And that's deliberate, because Stake understands that ease equals participation, participation equals volume, and volume equals profit. But their real psychological genius is this, the influencer effect. Stake pairs their dopamine-engineered games with influencers who embody everything people desire: money, fame, attention, status, perceived success. They partner with names like Drake and Adin Ross, not because these guys are expert gamblers, but because they represent aspirational identity. So when you see Drake playing Mines on stream, subconsciously, your brain gives you this narrative: if I can win on Mines, I can be like Drake. So you have status by association, you project your identity onto Drake, and then you see a shortcut to significance. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want Drake's life? Even if rationally you know it's marketing, your subconscious mind still connects the game to the influencer to the lifestyle. And Stake exploits this wiring better than almost any modern company. And while the business model itself is obviously unethical in so many ways, I mean, they're getting kids to gamble, you must give credit where it's due. Their understanding of human psychology is world-class. They build everything around ancient human nature, the same nature that drives every great offer, every viral brand, and every billion-dollar company. So what's the unifying pattern? Across thousands of years in industries, these three empires or three examples all leverage the same psychological pattern. High reward, big upside, big promise, big payoff. Low risk, they remove the fear, they remove the friction, they remove the uncertainty. Low effort, make the path to success stupid simple, and a very fast payoff. Humans choose immediacy over accuracy every single time. This is the formula behind winning offers, viral brands, market-dominating companies, behavior-changing products, entire industries, and now, for the first time ever, AI-powered agencies. This is why no AI can replace human psychology, because human nature is the only platform that never receives a software update. And if you align your offer with human nature, you print. So why does this actually matter? It's because I hear gurus all the time say, that offer is dead, that offer doesn't work anymore. That's the clearest sign that they have no fundamental understanding of how human psychology works. Because yeah, specific tactics die, specific scripts die, specific angles even get saturated, but the underlying psychology of high risk, low reward, low effort, and fast payoff, that's timeless. Because it worked in the garden, it worked in infomercials, it worked in fast food, it works in online gambling, it works in SaaS, it even works in dating. And it especially works in AI-powered agencies where the fulfillment cost has collapsed to nearly zero. Because if you build your offer around human nature, your competition is dead on arrival. And that's why understanding the fundamentals of human psychology and offer engineering guarantees that you will always succeed. You don't need to learn the offer of the day. You need to learn the principles that make the offer of the day work. The good news is that with AI handling fulfillment, we can create new offers that are even lower risk, even lower effort, with higher rewards. One-of-one, insane, irresistible offers. But how? How are you going to be able to guarantee faster results, promise bigger outcomes with zero of the risk it took in 2020, all while charging more and making bigger profit? Well, the answer is systems leverage. And here's a hint. All of the above case studies, I guess besides Adam and Eve, are using systems leverage. You see, the fantasy of traveling anywhere, anytime while the business is making money while you sleep, all that dream really boils down to is having leverage. And now AI gives us agency owners access to the most profitable, strongest form of leverage that software billionaires have been using to make billions of dollars in cash flow 10 times easier than the rest of us normies. The SaaS secret is this. Software companies figured out something revolutionary decades ago. They print billions 10 times easier by selling systems and not labor. Let me explain Naval's leverage framework. Naval Ravikant is one of the most successful angel investors of all time. He breaks down wealth creation into three forms of leverage. Labor is the first form. This is managing people. Agencies and service businesses use this form of leverage. Capital is the second form. This is managing money. Hedge funds and venture capitalists use this form of leverage. Tech and products are the third form. This is managing technology. Software companies and now AI-powered agencies get to use this form of leverage. And Naval's conclusion, after making billions of dollars, is that labor is the weakest form of leverage and the strongest is systems. The most profitable form of leverage is systems leverage. Basecamp is a software company that does $280 million per year in revenue with 171 employees. That's $1.64 million in revenue per employee. My traditional agency did $2 million a year in revenue with 20 employees. That's $100K in revenue per employee. Do you see the difference? Basecamp makes 16 times more revenue per employee than I did. It just makes me mad even saying it. Not just because they're smarter or work harder, but because they sell systems that scale infinitely. I sold labor that scaled linearly. They build fulfillment once, only needing tweaks here and there or to add new features. But with an agency client, the work starts from zero each time. When you sell software systems, every new customer adds zero marginal cost. They don't need to hire 5 more people to serve 100 more customers. The staff size does not scale linearly with revenue. That's the entire secret. This is exactly why investors want to buy software companies. This is actually a good point, so let's dive into it. Venture capitalists are the highest echelon of wealth in the world. If you look at the Forbes list, it's mainly venture capitalists. These guys like Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen. These are the smartest, wealthiest businessmen on the planet. These are the apex predators of business. These are the guys who invest in businesses for a living. They understand what makes companies grow. They understand how to make good investments. They're smart fucking people. So here's a question worth asking. What kind of businesses do these people like to invest in? If you don't believe me about what the best business models are, just ask yourself this question. Follow the money. Look at where the people who invest in businesses for a living want to put their money. And when you follow the money, you can see the pattern. They like tech, they like software, they like systems leverage businesses. You don't see many venture capital groups that just invest in restaurants or just invest in traditional service companies or traditional agencies. Why? Because they understand that businesses with heavy systems leverage are the most scalable businesses on earth. Private SaaS companies trade for around 5 to 7x their annual recurring revenue, not their profit, but their revenue. So if a SaaS company is doing $10 million a year in revenue, it could easily sell for $50 to $70 million, even if it's not profitable yet. Now, compare that to a home service business. Home service businesses typically sell for 4 to 7x EBITDA. EBITDA is basically your profit or earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So they're getting valued on their profit, not on their revenue. And on the multiple of their revenue, it's more like 0.8x%. Think about how insane this is. Home service businesses are labor leverage businesses. If they make $100,000 in profit per year, they can mainly sell for a ballpark of $400,000. A SaaS company makes $100,000 in revenue per year, doesn't even have to be profitable, can sell for $700,000. The SaaS company can be losing money and still be worth almost double what the profitable home service business is worth. Because they don't want to buy a workforce of people, they want a system that prints money without needing to scale headcount proportionally. Let me show you what I mean with a real example. Remember on page 12 when I talked about Salesforce acquiring Slack for $27.7 billion? Well, how much revenue do you think Slack was bringing in at the time? Between $1 to $2 billion per year. Do the math on that. Salesforce paid 15 to 20 times Slack's annual revenue to acquire them. But here's the crazy part. Slack has never turned a profit ever. Not in 2021 when they got acquired, not before, not since, and it didn't matter at all. Why? Well, because Salesforce wasn't buying Slack's team or their office spaces or their technology alone. They were buying a fulfillment system that scales infinitely without proportional increases in cost. That's the model. That's what investors paid billions of dollars for. And now, for the first time ever, you can run an agency with the same economic model that made software billionaires rich. For a long time, this was only possible if you ran a software company. If you're running a service business, you were stuck in the labor model. More clients meant more people, meant more complexity, which meant lower margins. Let me give you a real example of why managing people is the hardest part of business. In 2021, I hired 2 client success managers, Marcus and Brian. Marcus was incredible. All of his clients loved him. He transformed our business. He was one of the 5 most significant people that I ever hired when I ran my company. Brian wasn't performing too well. We had to let him go. But Adam and I weren't good at managing and firing people yet. Adam just sent Brian an email letting him know that we were letting him go. And we thought this was normal because you see screenshots on Twitter all the time of companies like Tesla or Google firing someone and just letting him know via email. Brian went nuclear on the way out. He messaged all 50 of his clients he was managing, which was about $70,000 per month in business, and told them he was leaving on his own accord. We were scamming everyone. He wouldn't feel good being a part of the scam anymore. And not only should the clients leave, but they should also dispute all of their charges. His goal was literally to destroy our entire business on the way out. And when you first start running a business, you'd never think someone would do something like that. It's not something I would ever do, so I didn't expect anyone else to do the same. I'm surprised we weren't on anxiety pills by the end of the fiasco. Luckily, Brian's crash out didn't destroy our business. This is what I imagine he looked like when he was sending the messages to all those clients. But it's a perfect example of the stress and risk of managing large teams. But this is why we're lucky now, because now we can just let AI handle all the work with minimal people to manage. Why? Because managing humans is the literal hardest part of business. And if you still don't believe me, ask my boy John Maxwell. John Maxwell is arguably the most famous business leadership coach of all time. He's written over 50 books on leadership and made hundreds of millions of dollars just teaching people how to manage people. If someone can build a 9-figure business just teaching people how to manage people, that tells you everything you need to know about how hard it actually is. Not to mention, thousands of business leadership books are published every single year. That's how big of a problem it is to manage humans in business. Software billionaires realized this first. They understood that managing 50,000 people at a time is impossible, so they built systems that fulfill and manage themselves. So how does AI actually give you systems leverage? Well, now for the first time in history, agencies can operate with systems leverage instead of labor leverage. The old model was that you're an agency owner who manages people, which is your team, who also manage people, which is your clients. Your revenue scales, your headcount scales, your profit margins shrink, and your operational complexity explodes. You're trapped. The new model is that you're a chief scale officer who manages systems. Your revenue scales, AI handles the fulfillment, and your profit margins hold steady because your operational complexity stays flat. Yeah, you're gonna have a small team. I'm not promising you that you're gonna do 100K a month just by yourself, but it's far easier to have 3 to 5 A players that you're working with than 20 to 30 C players. You're free, and this is what it looks like as you scale. At 10K a month on the old labor leverage model, you had to have 1 to 2 people. Now on the new systems leverage model, it's just you and AI. At 50K a month on the labor leverage model, you had 5 to 7 people. Now, on the systems leverage model, it's you plus an operator plus AI. At 100K a month on the labor leverage model, you had 10 to 15 people, which was a nightmare. Trust me, I'm still traumatized by it. And on the systems leverage model, it's you, 2 to 3 people, and AI. And at 200K a month on the labor leverage model, you had 20 to 30 people, which was absolute hell. And on the systems leverage model, it's you, 3 to 5 people, and AI. Because your revenue and staff expenses no longer scale linearly or with each other. More revenue doesn't equal more headaches. More revenue actually means more profit, and you're also afforded more options. And this is what people don't talk about enough. When you build your agency off systems leverage instead of labor leverage, you have insane freedom. Look at the Basecamp founder. He can decide he wants to buy another company, and because of systems leverage creating infinite cash flow and infinite free time, he can do that. But also because of systems leverage, he can do anything he wants in his personal life because he is no longer, or it never has been, the bottleneck of his business. If he wants to travel, he can. If he wants to make investments, he can. If he wants to take 3 months off, he can. The business doesn't need him to function. It needs the system. Look at Elon Musk, who's pretty much the wealthiest man on earth right now. He has so much systems leverage, he literally just does whatever he wants. If he wants to buy Twitter, sure. He wants to launch rockets, okay. He wants to work with the president, although it didn't really work out. Let's do it. That's the power of systems leverage. When you're not the bottleneck, when your business doesn't require you to be present for it to run, you have options. And that's what AI gives agency owners for the first time in history. Let me give you another example of what systems leverage actually looks like in practice. Well, remember we talked about Basecamp earlier. Well, in 2006, the king of systems leverage himself, Jeff Bezos, invested. Think about that for a second. At the time, Basecamp was bootstrapped and extremely new to the market. But even Jeff Bezos came knocking. Why? Well, because Jeff Bezos has so much systems leverage, he can afford to invest in companies that interest him, not because he needs the money, but because he wants to. He's not worried about his day-to-day operations at Amazon because the system runs itself, which means he has the freedom and capital to invest in other ventures that align with his interest. And guess what attracted him to Basecamp? Systems leverage. Basecamp built a product once, then went on to sell it to millions of customers without needing to hire millions of people. They didn't need to 10x their team to 10x their revenue. It's literally a systems leverage flywheel. Jeff Bezos, who has systems leverage, is investing into Basecamp, a company that has systems leverage. It's the ultimate example of what happens when you build a business model that doesn't require you to fulfill. When your business can run without you being plugged in 24/7, you finally become a real entrepreneur, not just an online money guy. You run a real business. You're a true founder. You don't have to say, I'll take a vacation, but check Slack every 2 hours. But you have actual freedom to do whatever you want because the machine you built keeps printing money, whether you're there or not. This is the unlock. This is what agency owners have been trying to figure out for a decade, myself included, and AI finally made it possible. Before, you were stuck managing people. You were stuck in the business. You were stuck as the bottleneck. But now you can run a 100K a month agency with a handful of people and AI handling 90% of the fulfillment, which means you can scale the business if you want. You can launch a new offer. You can start another business, or you can just let the business run and do something else. You can just travel and live your life. When you have systems leverage, you can literally do whatever you want. And that's the entire point. So there was an old choice, and now there's a new reality. For a long time, people had to choose between 2 bad options. Option 1 was a small, high-profit lifestyle business. You made $20K per month with 2 people, you're living in Bali, your life is good, but you're capped. You can't really scale without changing your entire model. Option 2 was a large kind of corporate, low margin business. You make $200K per month, you have 20 people, and you're stressed out of your mind. The money looks good on paper, but again, the juice isn't worth the squeeze because you're working 80 hours a week and you're taking home a lot less money than you should be. But now with AI, you can really have both. 7-figure revenue with less than 5 employees. Lifestyle freedom combined with massive profit. Well, why is this possible now? Because you're no longer selling services anymore. You're selling systems, which is AI-powered fulfillment, just like these software billionaires do. So how does this actually make you money faster and easier? Well, the compounding benefits of this model are insane because first off, you can charge more. Better offers mean higher prices. AI delivers faster, which means more value for the clients. You can guarantee results and remove all the risk. Your old price was maybe 2 to 3K per month. Your new price can be 5 to 10K per month. Second, you keep more. You're running 70 to 80% margins instead of 15 to 20%. When you do 100K per month in revenue, you're taking home 70 to 80K instead of 15 to 20K. That's life-changing money. And third, you scale faster because there's no hiring bottleneck anymore. You close 5 deals this week, no problem. AI plus your operator handles it all. You're not stressed about fulfillment, you're excited about growth. And fourth, the best part, you work less. You're working 20 to 30 hours per week instead of 80 because all of your time is focused on high leverage activities like closing deals and building strategic relationships. You're not drowning in fulfillment work or managing a massive team anymore. Your only focus today is client acquisition and moves to scale, which means being the chief scale officer. This means you get to build an insanely profitable, multi-million-dollar per year agency with a maximum of 5 employees. And look, first mover's advantage is real because right now, most agency owners don't understand this yet. They're skeptical. They're waiting to see what happens. They're paralyzed by information overload, especially with all the new AI tools and trainings popping up every single second. But here's the thing. The good news for you is if you move now, early movers are capturing massive market share while everyone else is sitting on the sidelines. Clients haven't heard the updated, insane kind of offers and results you can produce with AI fulfillment. You can get in, you can dominate your niche, and you can build a massive client base before the rest of the competition wakes up. Just look at software. Slack owns workplace communication because it was the first modern chat layer for teams, which is a big reason why Salesforce acquired them for $28 billion. Shopify captured e-commerce first because it was the first no-code storefront built to scale globally. Zoom won video communications because it was the first one-click video call tool. When these companies moved early, they took the entire category before competitors even understand what happened. New companies could copy the features, but they couldn't copy the early market capture, the distribution, the trust, and the installed base. That's the power of first mover advantage. And the agency world is in the same moment right now. Early movers in taking advantage of AI fulfillment to master their client acquisition will dominate their niches long before competitors wake up to what's happening. But by Q3 2026, I'm predicting the market will be twice as competitive and skeptical as it is now, and you'll be too late. But if you start today, month 1, you're building your updated offer and setting up your systems. Month 2 and 3, you're building the AI-powered acquisition systems to book 20 to 30 calls per week. Month 3, you're refining your systems and sales skills to close 5 to 10 clients a month. Month 4, you're doing 25 to 50K per month in revenue. Month 5, you're building the next set of systems and closing at 30+% to scale to 100K a month. By the time you hit month 6, you're at 70 to 100K per month, and while everyone else is starting to catch up in 2026, you're already a shark in your niche. And the cool part is, for those of you in agency clients, I'll be personally holding your hand, your personal scaling partner, through this 6-month sprint to guarantee you build this reality. It's a bit of a shameless plug, but it's true. If you wait 6 months, the market is twice as competitive, and that 100K plus per month agency reality will take another 12 months instead of 6. And the private guys inside of AC will be miles ahead with most of the market taken for themselves. So every single week you wait, you lose precious market share that you'll really never be able to get back. So what's the vision? January 1st of 2026, I wanna paint you a picture of what's possible when you master client acquisition and let AI handle your fulfillment. You wake up on January 1st, 2026 with a one-of-one offer and acquisition engine that's booking 30 plus qualified calls for you every single week. You have AI fulfillment systems handling 90% of delivery work for 15 to 30 active clients. You're making $30,000 to $100,000 per month in pure profit that hits your bank account. You have a 3 to 5 person team with no management nightmares. You're not having to read those John Maxwell books that I did. You're working 20 to 30 hours per week, and all of that time is focused on high value activities like closing deals and building relationships. You have 70 to 80% profit margins with complete confidence in your business model and a clear path to $1 million per year with the same team size. This isn't a fantasy anymore. This is the new reality for agency owners who master client acquisition, sales, and let AI handle the rest. So how do you actually do this? How do you actually become a chief scale officer who can create one-of-one offers and scale to $30,000 to $100,000 per month in profit in 2026? If you understand the AI-powered agency model in this way, here's the first 4 things you need to do next. You need to create your one-of-one offer. You need to dial in your niche, your messaging, and packages that prospects just can't say no to. You need to build your appointment generation system. You need to figure out what channels to run. You need to achieve product market fit and need to consistently book sales calls. You have to master sales and closing. You got to learn how to close at 40+% with a proven sales process. And then you have to install assembly line fulfillment, meaning you need to set up AI systems that handle 90% of delivery automatically. And that's what an AI client engine does. It's a complete system that you can install directly in your agency, handling both sides of the equation. The acquisition side that books 30+ calls per week automatically, and the fulfillment side that has AI handling 90% of delivery automatically. So let me show you how this thing works. The AI client engine. Part 1 is the one-of-one offer. This is where everything starts. You need to craft a front-end offer that literally sells itself. I try not to vomit when I hear the word offer. It's kind of a dirty word in the space now. But in this case, it's kind of the best one to use. Let's be real. Most agencies don't even have an offer. If you ever want deals to close without you physically being on the phone, you have to have a strong offer. This means no custom pricing where you get on a sales call, you see how the prospect's doing, and then you pull a random price out of your ass. You have to have set in stone pricing or standard packages you follow on each call. I know this might seem scary, but remember, a confused buyer never buys. You ever heard that one? If your prospects can't find certainty in your offer, it's highly unlikely they're going to find their credit card for your offer. You need to have clarity in your offer for your prospects to buy. Here's what I do. I would hedge with a minimum result. If your average client gets 100 leads in 90 days and you're selling a lead gen service, you want to promise a minimum. I'd knock off 20% and kind of hedge, making your minimum 80 leads over 90 days. That's your guarantee. Let's say you have a few oddball clients who don't hit the minimum. You can set up a pro rata or work for free offer until you do. This all comes down to removing the assumed risk from your offer and adding in certainty, so your prospects can be certain that they're going to get results if they pay you. You need to drill down an offer if you want to sell your services consistently. You can have one standard package, which adds certainty and removes variables, or if you want to decide on doing multiple packages, I would do a 3-tiered plan. That's what we did at LeadJolt. It's the most tried and true. Now with AI handling fulfillment, you can make offers that were literally impossible before. You can promise bigger outcomes, you can guarantee faster timelines, you can remove more risk, and you can charge premium prices, all because your cost to deliver is nearly zero. This is how you can go from charging $2 to $3K per month to $5 to $10K per month, not by adding more features, but by engineering an offer around high reward with low risk and low effort. The kind of offer that when a prospect hears it, they immediately think, I'd be an idiot to say no to this. Part 2 is your acquisition systems. Once you have the offer dialed in, you need systems that consistently book appointments. First off, don't try to run paid ads before you've proven your offer works. I've seen so many guys in different programs that I was in who were like, hey, I want to scale. I'm just going to turn on the ads. And then they blow all of their money on ads. They didn't prove out their offer. They didn't have any experience on sales calls. They didn't have their whole copy platform dialed in and all their messaging. When you don't have any of that yet, and you haven't actually run some customers through your offer, you don't really have product market fit. And if you haven't achieved product market fit, you can't just drop a bunch of bags on ads. So here's the right way to do it. Step 1 is you start with cold outbound. It's boring, I know. Cold email, LinkedIn DMs, Instagram DMs, wherever your niche hangs out. The goal is to manually validate that people actually want the front-end offer that you're selling. You need dialed-in messaging that speaks directly to your prospects' pain points and presents them with your irresistible offer. You got to get on the phone with these prospects. You need to close your first 5 to 10 clients manually if you have to. This is where you figure out what messaging works, what objections come up, and what your prospects actually care about. From there, you achieve product market fit. Product market fit means you validated that people actually want what you're selling and you can consistently close deals. Here's how you know you've hit it. You're booking 10 to 15 qualified calls per week, you're closing 20 to 30% of them, and you've already closed at least 5 to 10 clients. Your messaging's dialed in. You know your prospects' pain points inside and out, and you have a repeatable process. Once you hit this point, you can start thinking about scaling with paid ads. Step 3 is scaling with paid ads. Now you can run paid ads that actually book appointments profitably. You know your offer converts, you know your messaging works, you know what objections to expect and how to handle them. Paid ads become the fuel on the fire, not just the fire itself. And when I was scaling to $2 million per year, we primarily ran paid ads and some cold outreach, but we only went hard on ads after we've proven everything actually worked manually by doing it ourselves. And here's what you need to do to nail ads when you start running them. You need ads that speak directly to your prospect's pain. Present your irresistible offer and get them to book a call. You need a landing page that works in synchronicity with your ad and continues the conversation from that ad. You need pre-call sequences that fully educate your prospects so they show up as qualified as possible. Education calls equals enrollment calls. This is exactly what I did to build a system that consistently books 30 plus appointments a week. I proved it first manually through outreach, and then I scaled it. So, we started by doing outreach, cold outreach. We validated our messaging. We got to a point where we were booking 30 plus calls per week with outbound, and I was closing these outbound leads. And then we turned on paid ads and we started booking 100 plus calls per week because we'd already proven our messaging and we knew we were going to get a return. Part 3 is elite sales and closing. Now, only the top 10% of agency owners can get consistent appointments. Even less can actually close. To be candid, most agency owners are really bad at sales, like really bad. But the way I think about sales in an agency is simple. Once you find out what works, you rinse and repeat. You create a process out of it. Our process was incredibly simple. We like to kiss it, keep it simple, stupid, wherever we could. Business has enough complexity. Why add complexity where it's not needed? For an inbound lead, we did a 1-call close. For an outbound lead, we did a 2-call close. Well, why? Because the inbound leads trusted us a lot more, but more importantly, they knew they needed what we offered. There's a lot less risk, as there is with outbound leads, of them being happy where they are or not in a rush. For the outbound leads, they trusted us a lot less when we reached out to them, so we would do a 2-call close. For the outbound leads, they trusted us a lot less. For the outbound leads, they trust us a lot less. And we reached out to them, so we did a 2-call close, meaning we reached out to them. We want to make sure they're actually in the market for what it is that we're offering. We do that on the first call. And then if they are, and if they do need our services, we set up another call to close it. The first call, when we're doing a 2-call close process, is just a friendly rapport building call where we learn more about their pains and problems. And then we set them up on a second call where we'd walk through the demo if they need our help. I broke my sales framework into 9 simple steps. So this is what a call typically looked like. First thing is intro and rapport. You want to get to know them a little more. You want to build an overall friendly candor. I don't think you need to be friends with the prospect in order to sell them, but no one wants to buy from an asshole. So you kind of have to show them that you're human and kind of get them to open up a little bit. Then you're going to frame the call. You're going to set an agenda. John, today I want to learn a little bit more about you and your business to see if we can help. And if we can, I'll walk you through what that would look like. Does that sound good? This lets them know who's leading the call and kind of avoids you from being bitch slapped around on the call by the prospect. Number 3 is discovery. We need to know the details of what's happening in their business. What's working well? What's working poorly? What do they need help with? What they've tried in the past? The goal here is to widen the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. From there, we would transition. This is the point where you transition from discovery into the demo and actually showing them how you can help them. If you're doing a 2-call close, this is where you would actually just book them in for the second call. Number 5 is the pitch. This is where you're going to walk the prospects through the mechanics of your offer, showing them past client results and how the process works. You want to be careful not to talk too much here. Most agency owners talk way too much about features and not enough about benefits. Think, oh, we're going to run Facebook ads for you. Think, no, these Facebook ads are going to generate you leads on autopilot while you sleep. One's a feature, one's a benefit. I found that my best calls were the ones where I was actually talking the least. And after we presented the offer, now we get into questions. Most people, they bum rush into the price. Like they just try to blitz to the price as quickly as they can. But that tends to not work as well. Your goal should really be to handle any objections before the price as opposed to after. This is where you'll answer any questions and get kind of a temperature check. So does this feel like what you're looking for? The goal here with these kind of questions is to handle all the objections before the pricing to create an objectionless close. Next is the pricing. It's time to drop the bomb, which is the price. This is where you go through your packages. I always like to do kind of a fast action discount to create urgency. I always did like on-call bonuses. Like if you sign up today on the call, you get access to bonuses that other people wouldn't get. I highly recommend doing this as well. And number 8 is the final questions. So you've handled the majority of the objections before the price. If you've done a good job, the prospect should pretty much be ready to drop the credit card right then and there. And if they don't, you need to figure out their objections, tie them back to what they said they wanted in the discovery, and show them what you can do to help them achieve that. Remember how I said you want to widen the gap between where they are now and where they want to be? Well, this is why. Because unless you can make the gap feel really wide, then they'll kind of just think they can do it on their own and there won't be any urgency for them to start right away. And then next is the onboarding. You've answered all their questions. They want to sign up. It's time to get them onboarded. First things first, you have them pay. We never had a client sign a contract or even fill out an onboarding form until that first invoice was paid. I recommend you do the same thing. This simple process averaged a 40% closing rate for me and a 25% close rate for my team very consistently. And look, this is the most non-commodity skill out there, which means it's arguably the most important. But just looking at a framework on a doc isn't gonna get you even 1% better at actual sales. You need to see it in action, the actual important questions you need to ask on a discovery call and how to actually close. So as a bonus for you making it this far, DM me Sales Vault on Instagram, and I'm going to send you a YouTube unlisted folder with 10 of my sales call recordings to see it in action. Sales alone could be another 2+ hour training. I don't have time to get into it here. I don't want to make this a 10-hour video. So just DM me the word Sales Vault on Instagram at John Daines, and I'll send you over a 10 call YouTube unlisted folder. It's like 10 hours of calls for absolutely free. But look, AI can't get on the phone and close for you. This is where you must become elite. And when acquisition is 10 times more competitive than it ever has because of AI tools, being elite at closing is really going to be the only way to win. And part 4 is assembly line fulfillment. This is where AI completely changes the game. You need to build a fulfillment process where AI handles 90% of the delivery work that used to require 12+ people. I'm talking about productized fulfillment that flows like an assembly line. Remember, we talked about McDonald's earlier, where every client goes through the same process, but with their specific customizations built into each stage. Here's an example of how this might work. Let's say you run a content agency. When a client signs up, their information enters your system. Stage 1, AI analyzes their brand, their competitors, their target audience. It generates a content strategy document customized to their business. Stage 2, AI creates the first batch of content based on that strategy. Social post, email copy, blog outlines, whatever your services include. Stage 3, your operator, not you, reviews the output for quality. They make tweaks where needed, ensuring brand voice is on point. Stage 4, AI schedules and formats everything for delivery. Client gets their content packages ready to use. Stage 5, AI monitors performance and generates reports for the client. Your operator reviews those and identifies what's working. One operator manages this entire system for 20 to 30 clients. The AI is doing the heavy lifting. The operator is just quality control, making sure everything runs smoothly. Again, what used to take 30 to 40 hours of chaotic coordination across multiple people now takes 2 to 8 hours moving through a standardized process. The client gets the same level of customization they always got, but now it flows through an assembly line instead of being built from chaos. This is how you scale to 50+ clients without hiring 20+ people. This is how you maintain 70 to 80% profit margins at scale. In part 5, really what ties it all together is becoming the chief scale officer. This is the final piece. You need to become a chief scale officer, not an AI technician. This means spending 80% of your time on client acquisition and strategic moves to grow your business, not on figuring out the newest ChatGPT prompt. The AI tools are a commodity. Everyone will have access to the same tech by mid-2026. What's not a commodity is your ability to engineer offers that prospects can't say no to, build systems that consistently book appointments, close deals at 40+% rates, and make strategic decisions that compound your growth. You need to work 20 to 30 hours per week on high leverage activities only. You're not managing teams of 20+ people. You're not drowning in fulfillment work. You're not putting out fires. You're selling. You're refining systems. You're making moves that actually scale your business. This is what it means to become a chief scale officer. You manage systems, not humans. You focus on the one thing that actually matters, which is getting clients, and you let AI handle everything else. And this really presents you with 2 options. Here's where you're at. You've read this whole document. You've watched this whole video. You understand how AI has completely changed the agency model. You understand that fulfillment is no longer the bottleneck like it used to be. You understand that the only thing that matters now is mastering client acquisition. And you have 2 options. You have the red pill and you have the blue pill. The blue pill is option 1. You can go at it alone. You can take everything in this document and implement it yourself. This video will always be out there. You can watch it a million times over. The framework is all here. The strategy is laid out for you. This is the exact engine and system I used to close 771+ clients and scale to $2 million a year in 10 months, now supercharged with AI. But you'll have to make sure you get better at client acquisition and sales in the next couple months than 90% of the market. Then once you do that, you'll have to find and hire your A+ operator. The person who will take on the fulfillment management, the operations, etc. off your plate so you can actually scale. All in all, it'll take longer and there'll be more trial and error. And it's absolutely possible in 12+ months if you're completely dialed. But there's always an opportunity cost. Let's say it takes you 12 months to figure this out on your own instead of 6 months with help, just plugging in engines that already work. That's an extra 6 months of lost time. And the time isn't just time when you're building a business. Time is a compounding value. Those extra 6 months represent lost revenue. If you could have been at $50K a month in profit by month 6 with guidance, and it said you're at $15K a month by month 12 doing it alone, that's $210,000 in lost profit over that period. There's lost market share. While you're figuring it out through trial and error, your competitors, including the guys inside of Agency Clients, are taking clients, they're building relationships, and they're establishing themselves as the go-to authorities in your niche. You've lost momentum. 6 months of spinning your wheels, testing offers that don't work, running ads that don't convert, hiring the wrong people. It's not just lost time, it's lost confidence and increased risk of burnout. And you've lost compounding. The sooner you hit $50K a month, the sooner you can reinvest that profit into better systems, better people, better positioning, which will then compound into $75K, then $100K, then $150K per month. Starting 6 months later means you're 6 months behind on the compounding curve. If you could be doing $50K in profit by month 6 with help, but you're doing $15K a month by month 12 alone, you didn't really save any money by going solo. You actually lost $210,000 in profit during those 12 months, and you're still 6 months behind where you could have been on the growth curve. The compounded value of getting it right faster is worth 10 times more than the cost of damn near anything else. And by the time you realize that, you've already burned 6 to 12 months that you can't get back. But if you choose to ride it solo, there's no hard feelings. We're going to be going super hard on YouTube with all kinds of content that's going to help you. I still love you anyway. But option 2, it's the red pill. Just let me help you and use the systems that are already working. Again, just let me help you. Not only build an insanely profitable agency, but become the master marketer and salesperson you need to be to scale any business you desire. An AI agency or any other businesses in the future. This is exactly what we've been doing inside of Agency Clients. In there, I'm your personal scaling partner through a 6-month sprint to guarantee you build your 30 to 100K a month profit agency. I'm talking one-on-one calls where you and I will be getting on together personally, daily group calls, me personally holding your hand through building your offer, your acquisition systems, your sales call process, your AI fulfillment process. Then, once you master acquisition and sales in the first 2 to 3 months, instead of you having to source them yourself, we'll actually place you with your own A+ vetted operator from my network to take the day-to-day of the business off your plate. While everyone else is sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happens, you'll be moving fast with first mover's advantage. The private guys inside of Agency Clients will be capturing market share while the competition is still trying to figure out what new AI tools to use. By the time everyone else wakes up in Q3 2026, you'll already be doing 70 to 100K per month in profit while they're just getting started. So if you want to work with me one-on-one and you want me to hold your hand through this entire process and personally be your scaling partner, you can go to agencyclients.com, or you can click the link in the description where you will book in a call with me. I'll get to know you a little better, actually make sure I can help you, and then we'll talk about working together. If not, enjoy the doc. I love you anyway. God bless you. This is John Daines, the CEO at Agency Clients. I hope you enjoyed the video. And as a small PS, just as a thank you for making it all this way, if you do want the copy of this 80-page doc for yourself, just DM me the word doc on Instagram and I'll send it over for free. I love you lots, and I'll see you in the next one.